Hello, everyone. All right, there we go. Merry Christmas. Merry belated Christmas to everyone. Hope everyone had a good Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. All that good stuff. All right. I don't know what the turnout's going to be like today, if this is going to be an early one, but we will see. I know people are busy. But anyway, as always, if you have a question, ask over there in the chat. I will do my best to answer the best I can. So, you know what's awesome is on Tuesday, which was Christmas Eve, we trained at 9:30 in the morning at London. We had a terrific turnout. Kids did awesome. So we trained on Monday, Tuesday, and we will train on Friday. Have some different prowler stuff that I'm going to be doing with the kids this year. For those that don't know, every Friday, unless something happens, we push the prowler, obviously, during the off season. So our kids already had a couple prowler workouts in the off season after the season ended. We just picked right back up, and we've had some amazing prowler workouts. We did the last one. So last Friday we did our prowler training, and we did all low handles. And if anyone's ever pushed the prowler on the low handles, it was miserable. And to their credit, the kids chose to do this. So anyway, here we go. Albert Wang asks, when in a leader cycle, is it advisable to do a PR or joker set when we feel strong on that day, or just stick to the leader template? Albert, this is what I would do. If I were you, if you're asking like that kind of question, I would just stick to the leader template and get some experience, see how you react, all that other stuff. And then when you get much more experienced and understand your body, then you can start throwing some stuff in. But in general, I would probably advise you not to do that. So just stick to the template, basically, is what I'm saying. It's like the old saying. I've told this story before, but when I was in Boston doing a seminar with Dave and whoever else, someone asked, when do I know if it's right to use chains or bands on the barbell? And finally it dawned on me, and I said, when you stop asking the question and just do it. So if you know, if there is a doubt, there is no doubt. Same kind of idea. Okay, here we go. Albert Wang asks again, is the original 5-through-1 program more suited for average lifters than the 5-through-1 Forever templates? No, not at all. Zero. Nope. I don't think that has anything to do with average versus above average or below average at all. I am a huge believer in people choosing a training program, whatever training program that is, that they want to do, that they will stick to, that they will be more consistent, that they will give great effort. So whichever template or training style or anything else that you are 100% committed to and willing to give effort, because that stuff, I think is going to be best for you. I don't think it has anything to do with being average. Now, there are a lot of training programs out there that require you to have a good knowledge and a lot of inter and intramuscular coordination. I think that there are certain programs that, and I'm not talking 5-through-1 programs, I'm talking about different training systems that require that. So not everything is applicable for a beginner. Obviously you're not going to do a beginner program if you're advanced and stuff like that. So, but I don't think it has any, the Forever templates or the original 5-through-1, I don't think can be, if you're an average or not average lifter, I think it'll work for anyone. All right, here we go. Motos 30 says, fruitcake. I think you probably know my answer to this one. A delicious holiday treat or the abomination of a baked good? I've only eaten or tried fruitcake maybe once or twice, and probably like everyone else is absolutely horrid. And however, in fairness to the fruitcake, maybe it was just bad fruitcake. And a lot of that stuff just gets recycled. And I swear a lot of that stuff, especially if you made fruitcake, you probably know that 99% of the people that receive that as a gift aren't going to eat it. So you can probably just make 1 million of them and then just keep on selling them. And no one would ever know the difference if it was fresh or not. So, but yeah, it's disgusting, especially when there's so many other options out there. Fuck, a Snickers bar is better than fruitcake. So Ugh, it was gross. It's just, anyway. I had apple pie and pumpkin pie for Christmas. Oh. All right, here we go. Joshua Watkins says, how would you help change the culture of a high school football team that has had 3 winning seasons in the last 20 years? Their defeatist attitude drives me effing crazy. How would you help change the culture? Well, I can only say what I did. Now, we didn't have just 3 winning seasons in 20 years, and I've said this, I don't know, I just probably repeat myself half the time. Listen, it all starts with the head coach, the head football coach. Everything is about him. If he has a warrior, so to speak, attitude and is willing to put his hand in the fire repeatedly, is willing to fight battles, is willing to never compromise in the attitude and culture department, you're going to be better off. So the way that I took my role is it is his team. It's not my team. It's not the city's team. It's not the high school team. It's his team. Anything I could do to make his job easier and to fulfill his so-called vision, that's what my job was to. Now, luckily, his vision of what he wanted for a football team met up with mine, makes things much easier. But I will say that it would be very difficult, Josh, for you to do a lot of stuff if the head coach is, wishy-washy on a lot of things, punishes kids for doing this and then 2 months later doesn't care, stuff like that. And I know it's a hard job to have, to always be on if you're the high school football coach, because there's so much crap that you deal with. And obviously it's not the NFL, it's not college, but as anyone who has been involved in a high school football team, there's so much crap that comes down the pipeline and comes at you. It's unbelievable. And a lot of it seems really petty, but you still have to deal with it. So what I did was, one, I always showed up on time and I always showed up prepared. And I know that sounds stupid, but that's huge. Number 2, I always had a plan. I didn't just go in and hope for the best. Number 3, I had standards for everything, and I didn't. I never changed the standards. Meaning, if I was having a bad day or if it was tiring coaching or something like that, I didn't let things go, and that's very difficult for you to do. Number 4, I guess I'm on number 4. The goal was to get them to do things right first and get things consistent, not to make them everyone benching 300 pounds. So I didn't have that as a goal. I knew that as long as we did things right, like lifted right, had a good attitude, I didn't chase weights. I didn't try to force make them in the Navy SEALs on day 1 or anything like that. I didn't train them like that. I still don't train them like that. And I've said this quite a few times. You would be very unimpressed if you saw just a regular work day. If there's not a lot of stuff that goes on, we just do things better. And I think over time that will build up and result in great things, more so than YouTube workouts or, crazy challenges all the time or stuff that you'd want to post, because you can only do that so often. And so that's so a lot of it, Josh, is on you. Like, you have to be, and I take this very seriously, even though, again, I'm not changing, curing cancer. I try to be the highest example of discipline and character and courage and all that other stuff. I have to be that first for anyone to follow me. And I think that's really made a difference in my life, meaning I have to hold myself to a high standard if I expect the kids to be held to a high standard. So in the end, be someone worth following, be someone that kids want to follow and want to be coached by. And I guess that's the number one thing. There's only so much you can do too, Josh. You can't call the plays. You can't win it for the kids. The kids have to want to do all the work too. So, but just control what you can control and be the greatest example. Have high standards, have a great attitude, and expect the same things out of your kids. So, all right. Good luck, man. It's not easy. One of the things I think we did very well is well, not just me, but everyone on that staff, is it's easy, relatively easy to have a good season, but to have 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 great seasons is very difficult. And so that's when you really start earning your medal. Okay. So just understand that once you get over the initial hump, that's when the real work begins, because it's easy for the kids to take things easy once they've had success. All right. Mark says, hey, Jim, I got twin girls. They're 12 years old and have been relatively inactive. I have a home gym. I want them to get started with some basic weightlifting. Any suggestions? So if I were you, I did a whole video on this, Mark, called youth training or something like that. I would highly recommend you get that started. I don't know how much weightlifting I would do. I didn't do any with James at all for a long time. We did a lot of easy body weight stuff. So jumping, running, jumping jacks, burpees, nothing like crazy or anything. We just got him moving and doing a variety of different things. Sled work is awesome for kids, especially if you can make it into a game. Going over to like a easy kind of like not say a ropes course, but a obstacle course that they can do. That stuff is awesome. You can treat that a game. We have some stuff in London that Juliet does with James. But I think any of the basic movement stuff outside the gym is probably going to be your best bet. James loved to jump, and so we set up all these jumping obstacles, and I think that's paid off greatly. The running doesn't have to be, like a mile or anything like that. Just basic running, like run around the house or run around the block or something and time them. So that stuff I would do. I would also limit it to a very short amount of time, but try to do something every single day so it becomes a habit. I think that's huge. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And you can kind of see what we did with James. It's very simple. It probably only took 10 to 15 minutes a day. And it was nothing was pushed, meaning like the loading wasn't pushed, the reps weren't pushed. We just want him, again, to do things correctly. It can be a tremendous burden on you because sometimes you have to fight their attitude. But listen, like I'm willing to die on a few hills. One of them is reading. I think reading's super important, even if the kid doesn't want to read. I think they need to be, spend 10 minutes a day reading. I think physical activity is part of a healthy mind and body, and I don't think that's something you can compromise on. I think soft parenting is going to kill you a little bit. That doesn't mean you whip your kid and beat the crap out of them if they don't want to do stuff, but there's non-negotiables in life, and I think that's one of them. And again, 10 to 15 minutes a day will reap the benefits. And if they have been relatively inactive, it's going to be difficult for them to coordinate a lot of the movements, and that's fine. Just be patient. All right. But the first thing is look at the video. I wouldn't get them caught up so much in weight training. If they can do some of the lifts or some of the movements, that's fine. You can add them in, but don't freak out if they don't have the basic strength to do a lot of stuff, if they've been inactive for a long time. All right. That's huge. And that's one of the reasons why I love sleds and prowlers and stuff like that, because it doesn't require a tremendous amount of technique. It's easy to strengthen the body like that. And for some, it can be kind of fun as long as you don't treat it like they're going through buds or anything like that. But good luck, man. Judd the Stud says, are you doing the next Swiss Expo with Dave? I feel like I heard him say that in a recent podcast. I didn't even know they were doing the Swiss, so I have no idea. If Dave asked me to do or be part of it, I will. But I have not heard anything. But that's not, I usually am the last to hear about this stuff. So I would, as long as it's in Columbus, which I assume it would be, since it has been the last couple of years. The last Swiss was perfect for me. I like going up and just talking. I don't like having a presentation. I think it's kind of fucking boring. And I think it really boring for the listener or for the people that attend, because it's essentially you pay, you should have your questions answered. It's, what happens if I get up for an hour and talk on something you have no interest in and don't get your questions answered? I think that's kind of stupid, but I also get it. So yeah, if Dave asked me, especially if I get to be part of like a 3 or 4 or 5 person panel, I think I would love to do that. Just like what we're doing right now, I think is infinitely better than me just getting up and just talking at you about a certain subject. So Pablo Marrero says, did Jim get back to heavyish barbell training yet, or is he still doing walrus stuff? I assume you're talking about me. No, I'm still just doing walrus stuff. I have no interest whatsoever to do barbell training. None. Zero. I already did everything I wanted to do. It's just, listen, like it or not, one of the things that I did the best is, well, it's good and bad. If I don't want to do something and I have no interest in it, I just won't do it. Obviously, I still pay my taxes, brush my teeth and all crap like that. But if it's something that I have a choice in and I don't want to do it, I just won't do it. And that's just, like it or not, that's just how it goes. And I have no interest in doing it. I love coaching and I love doing what I'm doing. I should say I love coaching the high school football players. So, yeah, that's just what I want to do. So that's just what's going to be done. That kind of attitude will reward you greatly and kind of fuck you up too. So a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B, to quote The Simpsons. Brandon says, hey, Jim, hope you and your family had a good Christmas. We did. How would you advise bringing speed, squat, and bench into the 5-3-1 program? Super easy. Do the regular all the way up to the PR set, drop down to the first set last, and do your speed work with the FSL. I just wrote something about doing speed work before the squat and bench, which we did with some of the ex-London football players the other day, and I think it worked really well. That's on the forum, not a big deal. But that's that. That way you end up working with the exact weights that you need to. The sets and reps are up to you and how you want to do that, obviously. You can do 5 sets of 5, 8 triples, stuff like that. But I think that's the best way to do it. By far. Super easy to do too. Don't have to change much. D Hart says, hope you had a great Christmas with your family. Thank you, D Hart. Thanks for all you have given to the strength of training community. Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for these chats. They're entertaining and appreciated. My idea was to, here's Brandon again. So D Hart, thank you very much, man. I appreciate anyone stopping by and asking and just listening. It's awesome. So, Brandon, the questions were kind of mixed up here, the way that it was posted. So I apologize. Brandon was the one that asked about speed squats. His idea was to run speed squat and deads on my deadlift day and speed bench on my overhead press day. I recently brought in heavy sleds and found heavy deadlifts just kill me off and affect the next week. Okay. That's fine if you want to give it a shot. I don't have the reason, whatever. The way we ran on deadlifts, even when I was at my strongest, I never really pulled that heavy in training. It was just like it would just take me. So I kept the training max very low. And the one thing, I've said this before, our kids' deadlift training max is super low. I have found that we can increase our deadlifts by using the very light weights on the deadlift, more so than any other lift. So we keep that very low, which allows us to train consistently and never burn out. And obviously the kids have to run and jump and do all that other stuff. So it leaves them a lot of energy to do that. So you are not alone, Brandon, with the heavy deadlifts. I think some people can recover from it very easy, especially if you don't have other shit to do. But that's been my experience too. So just drop the heavy deadlifts, drop the training max, and strengthen the body with assistance work. You'll be good to go. Adam Jones says, hey, Jim, I'm currently doing 5-3-1 full body, having to travel to Taiwan, I'm sorry, for a week with work in 2 weeks' time from the UK. Is it best just to do what I can with body weight and treat it as a download week? Yes. And here's the other thing, Adam. If you're feeling kind of worn the fuck out and just feeling like shit, just take some of that time off. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think there's a time and place to train during vacation. I think it'll vary quite a bit from person to person. I used to always train during the vacations. And then I didn't train. And then now I just do something very light, so to speak, or easy or simple. Even if I go to a gym, I just fart around on all the machines and have some fun. So I think you'll be all right just doing either body weight and just enjoy the time in Taiwan. Get some push-ups, squats, chin-ups, ab work, stuff like that. I think you'd be good to go, bud. Ragnar Lothbrook says, "What's up, boss?" Well, Ragnar, you are technically the boss, right? You're the king. How important is flexibility for you? Greetings from Vienna. Hope you're doing great. Well, we are doing very well here in Ohio. How important is flexibility for you? I guess it depends on what your definition of flexibility is. I think everyone should be doing some kind of movement work, whether that's mobility, flexibility, dynamic warm-up, yoga, whatever. There's a million things out there, Agilite, stuff like that. So, but I don't know if being flexible is super important because I think the most important thing about doing that stuff is to feel better, is not to achieve a certain goal. So I think the goal is consistency with that, not so much that you do the splits. So, and the other thing is, if flexibility is a hindrance, like if you can't do certain things because your mobility and flexibility and it's causing imbalances and getting you hurt, then yeah, it's super important. If not, it's not terribly important. Just like an athlete, let's say an athlete can run a 4.3 and bench press 455 and jump through the roof. His strength training just needs to be just to maintain whatever he's got. It's not terribly important as it is for a young kid who's an average kid who needs, who can't do a pull-up and can, deadlift 135 pounds. So it's still important. It just depends on if it's screwing you up or not. So if it's a weakness, work your weakness, whatever. Anyway, I hope that helps, man. So different strokes for different folks, but I think everyone needs to be doing that. And how it fits into your training, I don't know. And as everyone probably knows, a little bit goes a long way with that stuff. Just be consistent, 10 to 15 minutes a day. You'd be surprised at how much better you feel. Let's see here. The character letter is killing me. Don't know what that means, but good times. Oh, character limit. All right, Brandon, that's fun. Dude, if you want to do that, listen, that's way too complicated of training for me, like doing all this. And it would, for me, in my head, I like to keep things as basic and simple as possible. That's why we just work up to a PR set, drop down to FSL, do our speed work, get it done very quickly. Make sure our GPP is high, and then we're good to go. So, and then if again the deadlifts are heavy, Brandon, just lower the training max, you'll be good to go. So, but again, if all that stuff makes sense to you, that kind of training makes sense, let it rip, buddy. All right, here we go. Golf Boy Hunter. And all right, here we go. I'm coming up on 3 years of training now, mostly lifting and Muay Thai for a few months. SI joint pain went away with good rest. I feel like I got to be patient with lifting, not maxing out all the time, but we'll get there. Yep. Dude, the more consistent you are, even if it's not pushing the pedal to the metal most of the time, I think the bigger the strength gains you will be, even in the short amount of time, because you'll be feeling better. So that doesn't mean you don't train hard. It just means you have to know your limits a little bit. I can't agree with you more. As an example with with our off-season training, especially early on here, before the new year came up, I purposely do just one main lift and 2 assistance lifts every day. And then obviously running and jumping and doing all that other stuff. But I try to limit everything. So everything is very easy, simple, and we're not overdoing anything. And the kids their bar speed is actually through the roof right now. I'm super, super impressed with our kids' effort. Because I'm not running them down every single training day. It's easy, guys, to be a hardcore coach. All right. It's very hard to be a good coach or a great coach. Not saying I'm a great coach. And since you're your own coach, you have to learn how to make those smart decisions. All right. Joshua Torsten says, greetings from Rawlins, Wyoming. Now, I spent, probably a week in Wyoming when I was a kid. Went to the Grand Tetons, and of course, as a young man, I love the name the Tetons because I believe in French, if I'm not correct, it's the titties. My son's over there. He thinks boobs are awesome. So does his old man. Anyway, and I remember we went to Cody, Wyoming, and bunch of other places. But I loved Wyoming. And it's crazy how few people live in Wyoming. Anyway, he writes, long-time follower, first time catching the live stream. Hope all is well. Well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. No question, just enjoying the knowledge. Well, I hope I bestow upon thee great bits of wisdom. All right, Tower says, do you prefer Agile 8 over the Limber 11, or is this question just sweating the small stuff? Sweating the small stuff, without a doubt. Listen, if you love the Limber 11, go do it. If you love the Agile 8, go do it. The most important thing is you do something that you want to do and you're consistent. I know I sound like a broken record, but people get really weird about that shit. Really weird. Magically, if you do it, you're going to be fine. I just had a kid I used to coach. I gave him the Agile 8 to do. And about a week later, he comes up to me and says, dude, it changed my life. I feel way better. Everything feels better. And I was like, you're learning, man. That's awesome. Okay. MI Demon says, what are your top 3 albums of the year? Wow. MI Demon, I hate to say this. I don't even know if I bought a current album this year. I don't know. I know I bought albums. The 2 death metal bands I really enjoyed this year is Primal Code. I believe they're from the Chicago area, and a band called Neckbreaker. And I got the new Nails album. I guess that was this year, but I haven't really sat down and really listened to it. It sounds like Nails, which is good enough for me. But yeah, I don't know. Anything I buy now, it seems like it's catching up on stuff that I used to have that I lost or never got in the first place. Like I finally got all the Immortal albums a couple of years ago that I just didn't get. So maybe that's a sure sign of me getting older. Is that right, James? Yeah, just getting grumpy in my musical age. Like the best thing about like Neckbreaker and Primal Code is the lack of shitty sounding triggered bass drums. I cannot stand that, and I love that style of death metal. I don't like that. I don't know. Current death metal to me is just kind of tough, or what you would call current death metal. So, but yeah, man, Neurosis is gone. It stinks. So if Neurosis would have put out an album, that'd be 1, 2, and 3 for me. There you go. But they are no longer. All right, Dan Brophy says, Merry Christmas. Looking to croc row half bodyweight for 50 reps. How many days a week do you recommend to include croc rows and the assistants to work on this? I would probably do them 1 day a week, and then another day a week I would just do regular dumbbell rows. Whatever that means for you. You can set up any kind of different assistance challenges and stuff and just have some fun. But I don't know if I would do them officially croc row style more than 1 day a week. But I would definitely row twice a week if I were you. That's what I would do. Definitely. And that's what I did. Ooh. Dean CTSB says, hi, advice on bringing up pull-ups other than 3 sets 3 times 10 or 3 as many reps as possible sets. I don't know what this actually asks. All right, well, like what we've done, we've done 50 reps of loaded, or you could pick, obviously you don't have to pick 50, but let's say sets of 2, sets of 1, sets of 2 until you get to a target reps with weighted dips or weighted chin-ups, or you can obviously do body weight chin-ups too. So let's say you want to do 100 total reps. You do 20 sets of 5, or you can do, and I know people are probably tired of hearing me say this, we have done chin-ups as part of our warm-up. So that's, as part of your warm-up, you got to get in 30 to 50 chin-ups. That is part of your dynamic style warm-up, or every single day you train, whether you're squat, bench, deadlift, whatever you're doing, between every single set, all your warm-up sets, all your assistance lifts, you do a set of 1, 2, or 3 pull-ups, and then the volume starts to build over time. I would highly recommend changing your grips every single set. So for example, we have the parallel grips. So we have 4 different grips with the parallel. We have wide, pull up, medium pull up, narrow pull up, narrow chin up, medium chin up. We have over under that, and then we grab the side, do this, ropes, or what's the other one? Towels, stuff like that. So I would change those grips as much as possible. The other thing that I used to do is always try to do a pull up on an odd shaped thing. So for example, I do them on my power rack, just on the steel part, not on the chin up bar. Or I also have a monolift that's like a 4x4 thing, and we would do it from there. So it really works different, just something different to do. I did them in my basement on the I-beams where you would pinch it and do it. That's really humbling. So I would highly recommend getting better at a lot of different grips. It will make a huge difference. And if you use the parallel grips, it will save your elbows and forearms quite a bit. So that's what I would do. You have the warm up, you have weighted weighted chin-ups with multiple sets of low reps. And you also have doing chin-ups and pull-ups in between every single set of a just general workout. And that whatever you're doing, you do it. Okay, here we go. Jason writes, how do you set up your lifting to keep your lids contained, I assume kids contained during season without running them to death, which is typical of high school coaches? I don't know what that means. So how do you set up your lifting? Oh boy. All right, let me see if I can figure it. Okay, how do you set up your lifting to keep your kids contained during season without running them to death, which is typical of high school coaches? All right, I'm going to see if I can figure out. All right, so I'm going to guess that you're saying, well, here's the number. So we don't do any running or conditioning during the season at all. We don't have a lot of kids on the team. Our practices are meant to be kind of conditioning oriented. Our kids have to recover. A lot of our kids play both ways. So we have cut all that out. That was one of the big things that we changed after my first year here. We changed all that. So that's number one. However, obviously some of the practices run long. So what I do is I never force in a training session when the kids aren't ready. So even if the kids ran all the time or whatever, if they came in tired, and they often do, obviously, but if they're running all the time and doing this, I change my lifting based on how they feel, not based on how I wish they felt. So what I do is, I always have a plan going into the in-season lifting, but a lot of times we will not do the plan because the kids simply are too tired and exhausted to do the lifting, because the goal isn't to get them to lift. The goal is to make them better on Friday nights. And so whatever I need to do during my time there, during the in-season lifting, I will do to get them ready. If that just means we're going to do a basic warm-up and do mobility and stretching work, that's what it's going to be. I famously tell this story, like anyone listens to what I say. In the 2023 year, we always trap our deadlift on Monday, or at least that's what we're scheduled for. And I believe we did 3 weeks in a row where we didn't trap bar. The kids were just worn the hell out. And I couldn't bring myself to make them trap our deadlift because it was Monday. So what ended up happening is we finally got to a week where I thought the kids were ready, and we ended up pulling some huge PRs that week, huge PRs, and not just for the JV kids, but for the varsity kids too. It was totally awesome to see. And it's also proof that you have to do what the kids their readiness for that day is. So you have to change your lifting to fit their game schedule and their practice schedule. They don't have to work around your lifting schedule, because you're just going to put those kids behind the 8 ball. So, but I should say that myself and Kyle are in constant communication with how the kids are feeling, what the kids look like during the day, what's their attitude. And I always give him my recommendation. Doesn't mean he follows it at all, but I try to give him like, listen, man, you're going to have to, if you can, cut the practice short today. Or the kids are looking great, do what you got to do. Just don't kill them. And we famously lean into each other whenever we do anything. We elbow them and said, we always say, just don't fuck it up, because what ends up happening is a lot of times when kids are looking really good and feeling good, what you end up doing is driving them in the dirt. And I've learned that lesson. The goal is just to have a great day of training. It doesn't have to be an amazing balls to the wall, and they shouldn't always feel crappy. So that's the whole key, is just don't fuck it up. Golf Boy Hunter, thank you very much. I appreciate that for the the money. I appreciate it. You don't have to do that, but thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. So thank you. And I hope I've helped you out a little bit. I think you're on the right track. I know you kind of were Muay Thai and training, and you'll find the balance, man. But it's hard to do. It's hard to do. You want to be an ass kicker and you want to be a power lifter. You got to learn how to balance those things. So, all right. Sammy Lee says, what's been the most valuable lesson learned or an aha moment from teaching kids? I don't know if there's just one most valuable lesson, man. The kids are constantly teaching me things. I'm going to tell you a couple, I guess, off the top of my head. I'm probably not going to do the best job, because I probably have to sit down and think. So just bear with me. Is one, you got to be incredibly patient. I think that's super important. Number two is I try to make the weight room somewhere they want to be. I am not a yeller. I'm not a screamer, unless I have to speak over the radio or something like that. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've lost my temper, and some of it was needed. Other times I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done that. So one, be patient. Number two is be as prepared as possible. So have a good plan going in, and be willing to change that plan. All right. Just because it's written down on paper, that's big. The number three thing is I love training. I love playing football and training. I love training for football. And you have to understand that the kids don't love training as much as you do. And you have to be cognizant of that, because not everyone's going to, go head first into this stuff. And you have to be okay with that. Sometimes, like I always say, I do not want to put my 49 years of life and my knowledge and my vision and my experience. They don't have that. They don't have that experience, all that knowledge built up from all those years. So they're going to make some mistakes, but you can't expect them to have that same kind of knowledge and the same kind of, oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, but they're just not going to be as wise as you, and that's fine. They're going to make mistakes, and they're not going to understand, like, listen, this is a very fleeting moment in time. For them, it's just a regular day. And it seems like forever that they're going to be 21 years old. It's I guess that's a big one. And then third, like more practical, I guess, for the training is if you're consistent, you don't have to do that much. And I'm telling you, it is unbelievable how little you have to do if you're trained 52 weeks, or we train 50 weeks out of the year. Our running is so little. And, if I write it down, you're like, Jesus, that's all you did? Yeah, but we do that for 4 or 6 years, actually. But 4 years at the high school level, we do it all the time. And that stuff just builds and builds and builds. It's like accruing interest in your savings account. It is unbelievable what happens. And the other valuable thing is it's amazing what happens when kids have their aha moment. It's usually between their sophomore and junior year. For some, it's just into their senior year. Sometimes it might be right after their senior year, but when they finally kind of understand it. And every once in a while you get a kid that I always say you can talk to like a human being. And I don't mean I treat them like subhumans. It means like an adult. And it's always crazy. There's always a couple kids here and there where you can sit down and it's not like I'm treating them like, one of my friends or anything like that, but it's always awesome to see when you can actually talk. And I had one kid who was a year older than most of the other kids. And almost from his sophomore year on, you could talk to him and he could understand stuff that I was trying to get across. And he's like, okay, I get that. And then I watched him put it to good use. So anyway, I know I'm boring everyone here, so I apologize. I just love what I do, man. I love what I do. All right. The B-Mook says, hey, I think I need to build up my hamstrings. I have a rack and barbells, quite a few kettlebells. Do you think RDLs and good mornings are probably the way to go? Yes. The only other thing I would do if I were you is I'd find a low intensity, low effort, high volume hamstring exercise. And for the most people that just lift in their weight room, I would probably recommend seated band leg curls. You can do them for super high reps. There's probably a million videos on YouTube. The problem with just having a barbell in a rack in your home is everything is like a big movement. And I think, I hope that makes sense. Like you can't just go over to the leg curl machine and put it on 100 pounds and just do like 1,000 reps or whatever. I don't even know. I haven't done a leg curl in forever. That's always kind of the bad thing about having your own gym is you have to find ways of getting good high volume work in that's not going to tank you. So I would probably recommend you don't have to do them maybe once or twice a week. It'll take you, just do one all out set of like 100 reps or 50 reps or whatever you're able to do of seated band leg curls. And again, just look on the internet. You just need somewhere to sit and it's something to attach the band to. So, but yes, I think RDLs, good morning, straight leg deadlifts, I think they're all great options. Rugby says, hey, I'm not using the press as one of my main lifts right now, but do some overhead pressing once a week, supersets with row, 3 sets to near failure. You should shed some light on what the pressing and rowing sets and reps look like for the London team on your deadlift day. All right, so we always overhead press in season and off season, at least one day a week, and we always do some kind of rowing. 1 day a week. Our rowing is chest supported with dumbbells. We have the 60 degree and 45 degrees, so they can choose which they want to do. I don't really care. We always do shrugs usually before it. So the kids will pick up the dumbbells, do 10 to 15 shrugs, lay on the bench and do some rows. The big coaching point on the rows is for the most part, driving your elbows back and getting big. That way it's a nice big range of motion. You're not just doing this. You've seen that before. The sets and reps on that, we just go for a time. So we usually have 10 to 12 minutes of assistance work, and we'll pair that with, for example, overhead press. Everyone starts with an empty bar on the overhead press, and they can do whatever they want. So they can go high reps, they can go low reps. I don't really care. I show them different variations, and I said, if you feel like going up and doing a heavy triple or something on the press, that's fine. But make sure you go back down and do it all out rep set and stuff like that. Generally speaking, with our assistance lists, I just tell the kids to body build and build as much armor as possible. So it's nothing. I don't say sets of 15 or we're all doing, sets of 5 or anything like that. It's up to the kids. I think it's super important that kids learn how to do lifting, learn how to use their, they're in charge of their assistance work. They're in charge of their effort. As long as they're doing the lifts correctly, I have no problems with it. If I've only had a couple times had to call some kids out for using really low weights. Occasionally with some of the more experienced kids, I'll tell like, hey, listen, you want to try an insane, sets and reps and stuff like that. Or if I think of something stupid and the kids will do it and they love it. But that's not, again, we talked about the valuable lessons learned. Not every kid wants to do that stuff, and that's fine. As long as they're doing the lifts correct, they're good to go. And as long as they're challenging the kids, again, I will walk around. And if I see a kid who's not using weight that's, appropriate for them, I'll tell them like, listen, man, next set, I want you to try 65. I think you can get 10 or 12 reps. And 99% of the time, the kids will do it and they will succeed. So, and then all that does is build confidence. And now they feel better about themselves and they know that they can do more. So it's really just build as much armor as possible, work as fast as possible. In those, I've sat on the chair and just watched a kid. I've seen kids in 12 minutes do 5 all-out sets of rows and 5, for them, pretty hard sets of presses in 12 minutes. So they work very quickly, very quickly. They're not just doing a set and hanging out. It is constant movement. But our kids are also in very good shape too. Okay, Wes Yeary says, hey, Jim, what exercises do you recommend for healing tendinitis in middle school baseball pitchers? Oh boy. All right. So Wes, I'm going to disappoint the shit out of you right now. I have no idea. It's way out of my purview. I train kids. I don't rehab the kids or do any of that stuff. That's not what I don't know anything. I would never claim that. One of the big lessons I've learned as I've gotten older is a lot of things I don't know. I have no problems letting people know that I don't know the answer. All right. That's a whole nother ballgame. I'm more concerned that a middle school baseball kid has tendinitis, and that's not very good. So my advice to you would be, seek out a physical therapist that deals specifically with athletes, not with, regular people, and see what they say. So I'm going to assume I've had tendinitis in my knees, shoulders, elbows, stuff like that. The thing that always helped me was just resting. And I know that's very difficult to do, but I just had to rest the hell out of especially I had really bad tendinitis in my left knee. It was so bad. I couldn't, it was bad. Of course, I just try to work through it like a dumbass, but that doesn't work. So, but rest was the only thing that did it. And I rested, I think, for 3 months. I was still active, but I didn't do any squatting. I didn't do any running, anything like that. So that'd be my only real recommendation. So that stinks, man. I'm sorry. Jermel McLeod says, hey, Jim, 5-3-1 is my go-to program when I get caught in the weeds of lifting. That's why it was kind of created, man. So that's awesome. Thank you. What are your favorite books of all time? I'm looking for cool stuff to read. All right. So my favorite all-time books, I guess, is Sherlock Holmes. I grew up with it. I'm a huge fan of mystery and stuff like that. Giant fan of Sherlock Holmes. There's a TV show called Elementary that came on, and I watched, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I put on the first episode, and I'm going to tell you, I fucking hate most screen adaptations of Sherlock Holmes, and I couldn't wait to rip it. And I'll tell you, Johnny Lee Miller does a tremendous job of bringing it into the modern day, much better than Benedict Cumberbatch did in the Sherlock show. I thought that show kind of stunk, and it really lost its way. So that would be my number one thing. I always read Sherlock Holmes. I'm always amazed. I love that Victorian era London. It's gritty. Okay, so that. Let me see here. James Ellroy was probably my favorite all-time author of all time, without a doubt. But I think I've said that a million times. The book War by Sebastian Junger is unbelievable. That book kind of hit me in a visceral way. Who's that guy up there? Oh, I love Dennis Lehane. Not every book of his is great, but I think he does a great job. Again, it's if you've seen Gone Baby Gone and Mystic River, is that what it's called? Oh shit, I don't know, but whatever. He's written those, so that would be something else. And then see if I can think of anything else here. All right, we'll say was something I used to read when I was a kid too, was H.P. Lovecraft. Absolutely love him. I haven't read anything from his in a long time, but to me, that was a huge part of my youth growing up. My mom got, when I was probably in 6th grade or so, probably 5th grade, 6th grade, got me a huge horror anthology book, and it had a whole bunch of H.P. Lovecraft in there, and I just remember in my bed with a flashlight, just couldn't wait to get to the next page. So I would probably recommend that. Again, it's not like it's, oh my God, who is that author? Everyone, James Joyce. Listen, I know it's supposed to be awesomely academic. I just can't really get into it. So. Brandon says, hey, Jim, how to put spinal tap, triple, and strength phase for leader and anchor cycle? Brandon, I am going to feign ignorance. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking here. I would have to really look at that, but I don't know what you're asking there for leader and anchor cycle. And I'd have to, again, look at all that stuff. I don't have any of that stuff on me. Well, I do over here, but I'm not going to flip through it. I'll be honest. Brandon, if you have access to Instagram, send me a message and I can maybe I can look at the stuff and figure some of that stuff out for you. So, but yeah, I don't know I'm sure my Instagram is just Jim Wendler or Jay Wendler or something like that. So check it out, man, Brandon, and just send me a message and I'll see what I can do for you. And just maybe you can explain a little bit more what you're asking. Heavyweight, again, you are my biggest supporter besides my mother. So thank you. And he says, does heavyweight, I'm looking slim and healthy. Yes. I am taking a giant chunk of time off of hard training. So it's actually making me feel really good. Hey, do you think we could get a live stream with you and Big Vince, Vincent, I assume, going over things nobody asking that should be asking? Well, Vincent and Matt are coming out here. I don't know when, February maybe. So I don't know how we're all going to get in this picture. I guess we could probably figure something out. But yeah, maybe, and I don't know, going over things nobody's asking, man. Listen, I don't know what no one's asking. So that people need to ask the questions. I can't be bothered to think that much, heavyweight. It's a lot of work. Anyway, so, but yeah, when those guys get here, if we can figure something out with how we're going to do it, I think those guys would be awesome to have. So, Karch says, hey, man, thanks for doing this. Well, you're very welcome for watching. Oliver Posniak says elementary is better than Benedict without a doubt. Oh my God. Oh, it's not even close. I'm such a nerd about that stuff though. You know what? I just realized it is Mystic River. You know what I thought maybe it was Mystic Pizza, and no, not Mystic Pizza. I think that's with Julia Roberts or something. Never saw it, but oh my God. Anyway, yes, elementary is way better. And I'm going to tell you, I hate when they try to force stupid shit down our throats with the message. But Lucy Liu, I think, does a good job at Watson, and they only have a couple stumbles with that. They don't make it into a big female empowerment bullshit. So, and again, you guys have to understand, I 100% went into that just wanting to hate it and actually like it. All right, here we go. Yes, Gone Baby Gone. Oh, what a movie. What a book, too. All right, Karch says, I'm 50 years old and I'm struggling with skinny legs. Which template and accessory movements would you recommend for leg hypertrophy for older dudes? I'm around 225 and can squat 375 for 5. All right, so Karch, this is what I'm going to tell you, buddy. And this is something I had to learn. If you have skinny legs, man, that's just how you're built. That's genetically not going to change. Okay. That does not mean you can't get bigger legs. But some of us are like, I'm 5'10". I wish I was 6'2", but it's not going to change. Some of us have very skinny arms, and that's how we're built. Some of us has weird shaped torsos. That's how we're built. If I were you, man, I would not get wrapped up in that. I would get wrapped up in performance. Okay. Because you will always feel like your legs are skinny no matter how big they get. It's a psychological thing. I see it, people with their body fat percentage and all this other stuff. And you're never going to get to a place where you feel like you're like you accomplished anything. And you see it with so many people who have physique and I want to look like this. And it's like they never are happy. Listen, if my legs if I felt like I needed to do heavy leg or, make my legs bigger, I guess I would just do lunges with like a weight vest for incredibly high reps. And then obviously squatting for PR sets and stuff like that. But I think if I'm going to be honest, the problem with trying to circumvent that is a lot of the stuff that you do as an older lifter to get bigger legs are going to wear you the hell out. And that's it's a hard lesson to learn. You're going to feel like crap. If you're 225, Karch, and you can squat 375 for 5 reps, that is absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. Okay. And I don't think, if I'm going to be completely honest, if you drove your squat up to 415 for 5, your legs are probably not going to change that much. Okay. So that might be something else. Like, listen, are you willing to put aside all your strength gains and just do hypertrophy? Because what happens if you squat 315 for 3, but your legs are bigger? Are you going to feel any better about yourself? And I'm not going to tell you, listen, if that's your goal, that's your goal. But if my goal, I would just do as many high rep, easy movements, not easy, but obviously keep the squat, but I would probably do 1 or 2 days of high volume leg press, weight vest, like a quarter mile of weight vest lunges, stuff like that. But be prepared to be underwhelmed. And it's tough. And oh man, I know I'm probably being Nancy negative, but man, be fucking okay with who you are. If you're short, you're short. If you're a little chunky, doesn't mean you can't get a little thinner, but just, man, that's fine. If you got giant, like dude calves and kinkles, you're not going to be able to change that. So just get better, be a better human being, train harder, but how you look is how you look, man. And there's nothing wrong with that. Dude, I've seen guys out in the football field, incredibly strong. I mean, incredibly strong and explosive, and you would never guess by their leg size. All right. And I don't think they give a shit. All right. So I would focus more on performance, Karch, if I were you, and let the chips fall where they may. That's, I guess, what I'm going to say. Okay. All right, Brandon, you're going to have, again, I see your question here. I'd have to look all this stuff up, man, and I don't know. So if you could contact me on Instagram, that would be much, much awesomer, because I could look at all that stuff, and it's just not very conducive to this. And I apologize. I know this is a Q&A, but that's going to require me to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and just map things out. So Tim says, good morning and Merry Christmas. Thank you. James, did you have a good Christmas, buddy?
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Success is apparent. Just wanted to encourage you that what you're saying isn't falling on deaf ears. I know. I appreciate it, though. I'm working out now, about to start assistance. My training max is set at 80%. That's awesome. Oliver says he never has watched Elementary, but we'll watch it now. All right. Well, I hope you like it. If not, you can find me and kick me in the nuts, and I'll take it like a man. So, again, Johnny Lee Miller, I think, is awesome as Sherlock, and he's super quirky. He stands all weird, and and plus he fights, which is, I think, a huge part of the Sherlock Holmes thing that people have ignored. Richard Wright says, always enjoy your content here. And with Dave, 531 is golden. It has my 14-year-old son off to a great start. He's doing track, and he's very strong on the sprints and jumps. Any thoughts on plyometrics? So I'd have to, yes, I think kids should be doing, now jumping isn't plyometrics. Plyometrics is a form of jumping, just so we're all clear, because the academics online get a little weird about that. I think the kids should be jumping at an early age. I think kids can do plyometrics at an early age, provided they're not overweight and they have like a background in some physical activity. It doesn't have to be insane. But yes, I think you should do it. I think you could probably do it if you train 3 times a week, you could probably do it 2 to 3 times a week after your warm up, before your lifting. And it doesn't have to be more high volume. We generally do about 20 to 30 contacts a day at London, not always plyometrics, but we're always doing some kind of jumping. So yeah, I think he's more than ready. If he's got a lifting background, doing track and all that other stuff, and he's sprinting, which is plyometric in nature, I think he'd be good to go. Good to go. Keep the volume very low. Teach. Start light, progress slow. Okay, Tim has gone on. He said, okay, I'm going to read this again because his questions were staggered. My training max is set at about 80%. I did 90% of that with squats for 10 reps. Waited 3.5 minutes. Then every other minute did 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 reps consistently to make the 20 minutes. Felt strong today. That's awesome. That's a hell of a training day. Woo! Tim, you will be sore tomorrow, buddy. Enjoy it. All right, Alessandro says, hey, Jim, how do you program the sled, weight, distances, time, or all together? All right, so with the kids, we always do 20-yard sprints. It's about 5 to 6 seconds. It's about the time of a play. I don't think it matters that much, but I'm not going to have them push for like 50 yards because it's just too much of a wear out of the kids and all that other stuff. So we keep the sprints very short for the kids, and that's what we do all the time. We only we have a standard training system that we do. And then occasionally, maybe once or twice, maybe once a month, we will do something a little different where it'll be a little heavier, or we'll do the low handles or much heavier. And then we adjust it. So that's, yes, for them, we adjust the weight, and we always keep the distance the same, and we adjust the time. Okay. And we also always adjust the distance, the total distance too, not the distance we push. Me personally, I basically have 2 prowler workouts that I do are sled workouts. One is the half mile around my area, and I can either do heavy, medium, or light. All right. But I usually do every set is 30 to 50 steps. And I do it usually I do a set every 90 seconds. I count the steps. All right. That's how I do it. That's one. And the weight is going to be determined by what I want to do, if I can handle it, and how bad the weather is, like if the asphalt is super sticky or not. The number 2 thing is I do it as part of a walrus training circuit. And I usually do, again, I can do a lighter day where it's just maybe, 1 plate on each side. I can do a medium day, or I can do a heavy day, which is obviously as heavy as you want to go. But I try to do most of my prowler work personally and with the kids very light and just fast. I don't think it's good for me to do it heavy all the time. It just takes just too much work, and I'm gonna be dead, and I don't need to be dead. So the majority of the time is very light, and most of the time I vary the weight. There we go. There we go. All right. Heavyweight says, I plan on ordering a hoodie off the website. The discipline over motivation with the skull is sold out. Will we have more coming, or should I email Mrs. Wendler about having one made? That I don't know. I guess you could email. I just don't know. It's been since, I'm sure everyone who's in business knows, or who's been living in America knows, that things really took a big dump with the lockdowns and the inflation and stuff. So we've had a really tough time getting stuff. And it's been tough because we've had to sell stuff super expensive, and I hate to do that. So yeah, I guess you can email. It's just been tough. And I'm not saying it's just me. It's been everyone. So anyway. All right. John Donovan says, hey, there's more gold in these streams. Thank you again for giving us your time. Well, thank you for giving me your time. I'm surprised you don't have a black Christmas tree. I do not. I got a family, man. They need to be, I can't just be weird all the time. All right. Brandon writes, start light, progress with a steady hand. That's a great way of putting it. Set PRs as strength expands, balance guidance, Wendler's plan. Oh, thank you. Brandon says, I am the man, or is the man. I am not, but I am a man. And I am not pulling down my pants to prove it. Right, James? He doesn't even listen to me. See? Doesn't even like his old man. I am taking him shooting. He got shooting glasses for Christmas. So we're going to go shoot some stuff. We're going to go plink some steel. Anyway, all right. It's 11:02. Does anyone have any more questions? I appreciate everyone showing up. All right. I'll wait around for a little bit. I'll set my handy dandy watch. I'll give. Ooh. Here we go. Give you guys 30 seconds if anyone's got any more questions. So, man, I think I'm going to go walk some stairs today. Oh, I got my buddies going. Zach's coming with me. We still got some time. All right, we're going to get rolling here. I'm going to go walk some stairs and make the kid I train with is very young, and he's super fit. Total pipe hitter in football. So he's got to wear the heavyweight vest. Everything is easy for me. And I make myself feel better because I kick his ass a little bit. Anyway, thank you guys. I hope everyone had a great Christmas. I will see you hopefully next Friday. If not, I will schedule it. I don't know what we got planned for the kids training and stuff like that. So love you guys. Thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of you. If anyone's got winter break, time off from work, enjoy it. Train hard. Do something dumb if possible. Love you. Bye.